the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
Breaking news. The SCCA N0nsense say Ken Ofori-Atta, the former finance minister, CCA N0nsense, the military and police for the military. Oma ransacking feel gidi ya enye asam ketwa ohwa aya arehosam na edie no mope ei sisi de na ekosi aye na eno na ede asototo form lawyer Paul Admochre trans no ochirem say we die ye ni bebi free because dan parisi onim ho hwe omane boama everyone debi ye bekuma ye ankasa special prosecutor Kissi ajapin ye nim de opa free ho na eno enenkyeremu apase se eniema bi koso na wabusa na nsemuai bi na Ken Ofori-Atta US ehwe no ho yare kakra na eno na onte no wase ose chenchena ada ono de information eso ye na wasoma military over 10 na bowen fi ono ransack ho nyina enye asamketu atiefo so already a special prosecutor kwa ohia se obi ekire ne boundaries no hu de esoko woni permits court permit ede na ma soldiers etimi bobura obi dem ne fi no mo ransack ho no mo bu niema no mo size niema atiefo ayara ho na eno na lawyer Paul Admochre ede ebitu aso na o kire mu say zinato Rollins de na etiefo ene owiwi nyina ekan nyina ebo no tofa na black rasta de no o sei mukura yanko ninguti nsem no emra sisia yancharo.
Now we're going to start the program in 30 minutes. We look that former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta's house has been ransacked by military, not police, military. And tonight we're happy to have more information to share with you as our first story. Later tonight, we'll be continuing with the story, and you've seen it on many of the Ofori-Atta. There's the gentleman in the center here, who has been finance minister for Ghana for 7 years, from 2017 to, I believe, 2022, and who was heavily criticized by the NDC, and who at some point had MPP members of parliament indicating to President Akufo-Addo to change him. Eventually, the president changed him for Mohamed Amin Anta. But Ken Ofori-Atta's house tonight has been raided, not by police, but by soldiers. Information reaching Good Evening Ghana indicates that the raid on Ken Ofori-Atta's house earlier this evening, Tuesday, what's today's date again? Tuesday 10th February was Tuesday 11th February was carried out by soldiers. Okay, let me say the sentence again, so that Good Evening Ghana suggests that the raid that has occurred at Ken Ofori-Atta's house earlier this evening, Tuesday 11th February, was not conducted by police officers. It was conducted by military officers. Now, they don't know that somebody on the top of the building next door was filming, and that video has been made available to us. So, was filming how they entered, and then the video remained until they came out. What happened inside, the video couldn't capture because the person was on the building. The soldiers, those of you went there, you will see that to your left, there was a story building there. A very prominent person lives there, and she was concerned about what was happening. So, she filmed it, and she sent it to us. So, the video indicates soldiers, numbering about 15 of them. One of them is half camera, so we really couldn't check. But at least there are more than 10, numbering about 15 military soldiers, not police. They raided Ken Ofori-Atta's house at Cantonment earlier today. Now, everybody was pointing to Dr. Kufu Dampare. It's not about Dampare. It's not Dampare. Apparently, the Honorable Kissi is responsible for this. And we don't know why. Kissi is responsible for the raid on Ken Ofori-Atta's house this evening. Now, why are we saying this? Because we have now also seen letters that have been written from Kissi to Ken Ofori-Atta, asking for Ken Ofori-Atta to be questioned on issues relating to SML contracts. Viewers, remember that, the famous or infamous SML contract. So Kissi has written to Ofori-Atta, asking him to answer questions on the SML contract. I'm not so sure who asked him to do that, but the OSP can have a mandate originating from his table. He can originate a mandate based on the broad mandate that he has. He can originate a mandate and say that I'm coming to ask you questions. He can do that. So in exercise of that authority, Kissi, the special prosecutor, wrote to Ken Ofori-Atta lawyers for Ofori-Atta responded to Kissi Ajabe indicating that the witness was not in town. Ken Ofori-Atta was not in town. He's in America on health grounds, and that they are able to answer questions on his behalf so long as he can produce the questions. Lawyers also promised that as soon as Ofori-Atta arrives in Ghana, they will submit him to the office of the special prosecutor. As far as the lawyers were concerned, this was the conclusion of the matter. Now, they were told today that their client's house has been raided by soldiers. Quickly, calls went to the police IGP, asking Dr. Nsem-Pii that what is all this about? Dr. Nsem-Pii is thinking about himself, and that's what he told them, that I have not sent anybody to raid anywhere. The people who went there were soldiers. I don't have control over soldiers. I just have control over police. So the military, and this is the so I don't know whether the defense minister, Dr. Mani Boama, is aware. But please tell Dr. Mani Boama that I was mentioning his name. He's the minister for defense. And his soldiers, numbering over 10 of them, under the instructions of the office of the special prosecutor, as widely believed, raided Ofori-Atta's house today. Military, not police, military. They raided Ofori-Atta's house today, 3-4 hours ago. The story is on City FM. Let's get a glimpse of how Channel 1 and City FM put the story out, and then we take it from there. Do we have it's a very short story though, because it's still running. Ken Ofori-Atta's home raided by individuals in military uniform. A group of individuals in military uniforms raided the residence of former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta on Tuesday afternoon. The incident took place in Cantonment while Ofori-Atta was reportedly out of the country. However, some family members, including his wife, were present at the time. The motive behind the raid remains unclear. Channel 1 news sources confirm that multiple uniformed individuals entered the premises, but it is yet to determine whether anything was taken. Authorities have not issued an official statement on the incident. Now, we know that from the videos that were made available, when the soldiers were coming out, they were not holding anything that they didn't have when they were entering. And we checked that to be sure whether something was taken out, because we had already read the story before this lady sent us the video. So if you look at it, the way the soldiers entered, it looks like that's the same way they came out. So they didn't take anything. The question then is mandates, authority, warrants, all of those things come into play, because when the police are coming to your house to search you, let me have the photograph of the three of them again. When the police are coming to your house to search you, they would normally have a warrant. And in the police context, an individual high court judge can so moto, as they say in law, it means by himself, can so moto issue a warrant for your arrest. A high court judge can so moto an ex parte issue a warrant. Ex parte means they don't have to call you and come to the court. So moto means by himself. He doesn't need a motion. He can just do it upon his own motion when he's told that this person needs to be searched. So the police will normally do that. I believe that even under the rules, I think so, I stand to be corrected, that the Inspector General of Police can issue a warrant. I think so. The Inspector General of Police can issue a warrant, but the CDS cannot issue a warrant. The Chief of Defense Staff cannot issue a warrant over a civilian that they should go and search him. The Inspector General of Police can. So if the Chief of Defense Staff wants to search you with the soldiers, he has to go through the Inspector General of Police. But here's Kissi Ajabe, who walks around with soldiers protecting him. And I'm guessing that he sends soldiers to Ken Ofori-Atta's house to go and search him. There's a lot more on this story coming up on Thursday. So much more is going to come up on Thursday. Here's the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta and his wife, Angela. Honorable Ken, don't worry. We know that you have not done anything wrong. Sometimes you become finance minister, and in your quest to do things, some things can go wrong. Everybody is blaming you about DEP, debt exchange program, collapse of banking, and all that. But in due time, I'm sure posterity will see what you did, if you did something good, and I'm sure that you did something good. So that's Ken Ofori-Atta. Say a prayer for him tonight, because he's under Kissi Ajabe's radar. Here is Ken Ofori-Atta about what the Archbishop told the MPs when he was praying for them. That's coming up. So that's the Archbishop, that's Ken Ofori-Atta, and that is Angela Ofori-Atta in an old photograph. Pray for Ken. Papa, you got to pray for Ken, you got to pray for your man, because he's under Kissi Ajabe's radar. And Papa, this Kissi Ajabe guy has soldiers around him. And even though he was looking for Ken to answer questions, he was told by Ken's lawyers that Ken is not there. Papa, you know what he did? He sent soldiers to Ken's house. Papa, you got to pray for him. You got to pray for Ken Ofori-Atta right now. And all Ghanaians got to pray for Ken Ofori-Atta right now. Okay. what is he singularly? I don't know. By Kissi, the special prosecutor, getting soldiers into the house. Kissi has been looking for Ken Ofori-Atta. He's written to him and he's invited Ofori-Atta to come and answer questions on SML. Ofori-Atta's lawyers have told him that he's not in town. Nonetheless, soldiers went there, and don't forget, this story has more to come on Thursday. Our Ay3ka request is still pending before the office of the special prosecutor. We are going to deal with it. All right. Government's Minister for Communication, Minister of State responsible for government communication, Felix Kwasi was speaking to Bernard Avle on TV on Point of View. It's a program on Channel 1 TV that I don't miss on Mondays and Wednesdays. So you're speaking to Bernard Avle on Point of View, and he said something. I'm guessing that Bernard wanted to know the future of the IGP. Because, you know, the IGP is very popular among a certain group of people. So I'm guessing that Bernard wanted to know the future of the IGP. The way Felix Kwasi spoke, it suggested that Dampare has come to the end of his career. Here's the video.
So what is the view about Dampare?
Well, I don't have any personal views about him. As I speak, I don't know of evidence of specific wrongdoing against him. He does not need to have done wrong for him to be changed. You understand the point I'm making? So if he's changed, it's not because he's done some wrong.
So what is the view about Dampare?
Well, I don't have any personal views about him. As I speak, I don't know of evidence of specific wrongdoing against him. He does not need to have done wrong for him to be changed. You understand the point I'm making? So if he's changed, it's not because he's done some wrong.
So what is the view about Dampare?
Well, I don't have
Kwasi's statement, which seems to be indicating towards a release of Dampare from the IGP position. But if you release a Dampare from the IGP position, you probably are sending him abroad as an ambassador, Ghana's ambassador somewhere. Doc, I know that you want to keep the job. I think you'll be able to keep it because you're a good man. But the people who are in power make the decisions. So, Archbishop, is the Archbishop around? Papa, can you also pray for Dampare? You got to pray for him because Ofosu Kwasi says he hasn't done anything wrong. But the president may just decide that he wants to make some changes at the police headquarters. All that is very interesting. Okay, let's have the next story. Is it Dr. Zanetta Rawlings? What photograph are we going to use to that story? Okay, they're going to give me a photograph soon. I don't know whether they have one. But yes, the story comes up in Parliament where last week somebody said that, so this is the story. There was a motion admitted by the Speaker for the remembrance of 60th anniversary since the death of the doyen of Ghanaian politics, Dr. Dankwa. So during the presentation, Murtala Mohammed, who was speaking to the motion, also mentioned that it has to come on record that the said Dr. Dankwa, whilst we eulogize his thinking and his work and his processes about democracy in the 1930s and 40s for the future of the Gold Coast, that we also need to recognize, according to Murtala's statement before Parliament, that the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States, the CIA, had also used Dankwa to undermine the Republic of Ghana. This did not go down well with the apostles and apologists of Dankwa in the House. Of course, on the other side, the mighty minority from Dankwa's stock. So they were concerned and started talking. The story is told that Dr. Rawlings made certain comments in support of Murtala's argument that Dankwa was a CIA agent. This is the story. That Dr. Rawlings made some comments in support of Murtala's statement. And you know, if you go to Parliament's chamber, on television, it looks like they are very far apart. But in the chamber, they are not that far apart. That's the thing. When we watch it on television, you think they are no, they are not far apart at all. When you go into the chamber, you see that it's not very, very far. So how would you know? Let me show you how you know that it's not far. When the president has given a sessional address, count how many steps he takes from the top before he gets to the minority leader, and you will see that it's not a very long distance. So somebody apparently heard her, somebody from the Dankwa side, heard her saying these things, and then that person, then unfortunately, it's very, very unfortunate what that person said, retorted that you are a daughter of a murderer, so you can't talk about Dankwa that way. This is the story that we have been told. After that, commentary started generally around the country. We have picked up Black Rasta's comments. Black Rasta is a musician who is a conscious speaker, and he's also a Rastafarian. Now, Black Rasta, the conscious speaker, went on a tangent of and indicating that the so-called tag on Flight Lieutenant Rawlings as a murderer who had appeared at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, incidentally set up by Nana Akufo-Addo and John Ajekum Kufuor, to speak about how he, in his life as a operative of the PNDC, as a corporal in the army, how much executions were conducted under the aegis of J.J. Rawlings. We put all together an editorial. We finished the editorial by saluting J.J. as we should, but also trying to tell Ghanaians about the kind of history that we should preserve. Here is the editorial. A lot is happening in Ghana, isn't there? So much happening. We've all heard about what happened in Parliament. Zanetta Rawlings, somebody called her, made a cut call of something very ugly. Parliament is looking for it, and the Anglo chiefs have given the speaker a deadline to be able to say who did it so that the person is punished. Majority members have expressed concern that what was said was wrong. Minority has expressed similar concern. Now, here is our Good Evening Ghana opinion on the matter. Lieutenant Ay3ka,
the prophet, have we so soon forgotten our history? The bloodiest coup d'etat that ever happened in this nation was instituted by Rawlings. He killed many in order to become leader of this nation. Is that not a murderer? So I am wondering why there's so much noise.
Yes, that was Black Rasta. Quite poignant, but this is a very sensitive conversation we're going to have. This is our Good Evening Ghana opinion on what happened in Parliament. Let's go back to Black Rasta. It's slightly longer than what you've seen. He delved into it in some detail, and we'll come back on the touch screen and then present all of our analysis on this matter about what happened in Parliament. It was quite unfortunate, and we do condemn it. Here is Black Rasta again.
Why can't we speak the truth anymore? What is wrong with us? Zenator is the daughter of a murderer. That is correct. But does that make her a murderess? No. She cannot inherit the crimes of her father. Do we understand that? But that does not mean she is not a daughter of a murderer. She is. Let us call a spade a spade. Should we call Zenator the daughter of a pastor, or the daughter of a reverend, or the daughter of a saint? No, we saw the bloodiest violence in this country in the reign of Rawlings. The person who called Zenator the daughter of a murderer, was he right or wrong? My brother, my sister, in the days of Rawlings, we suffered terror. Those of you who were not yet born in 1979, we saw horror in this country. People were abducted and killed summarily. We saw judges abducted and set ablaze. My brother, my sister, the mystery of which, my brother, my sister, is still pending in the clouds. Rawlings denied involvement, yet it happened in his regime. In the regime of Rawlings, we saw women in Kajetia market stripped naked and whipped in their vaginas. We saw people abducted and taken to the Gonda barracks and some other such barracks and shaved with blunt instruments and blades. We saw, my brother, my sister, people who were carried away and beaten, most of whom we were told were dead, and carried all the way to the morgue at 37. One of them finally survived. He went on to move into exile and later came back into this country to become a minister of energy. Do we all remember this person? It was all in the days of Rawlings. Can we run away from the heinous crimes of Rawlings in his regime from 1979? The several murders and bloodshed. And even at the time, Ghanaians were asking Rawlings to let more blood flow. How do you let blood flow when you don't murder people? Rawlings was a murderer. It's the truth. What are you running away from? So when people die, when murderers die, they all of a sudden become saints? Is that what you are saying? Because we live in a country where Atayi all of a sudden will become Saint Atayi because he's dead. Say no bad thing about the dead. That is your motto. Until we start to shame the dead, like they did in Belgium when Leopold II died and they threw his dead body right in the middle of the street for people to hoot at and spit at. My brother, my sister, crime and foolishness will never ever stop in this country. Was he a saint? Was Rawlings a prophet? Have we so soon forgotten our history? The bloodiest coup d'etat that ever happened in this nation was instituted by Rawlings. He killed many in order to become leader of this nation. Is that not a murderer?
That was very harsh. Black Rasta was very, very harsh, wasn't he? Anyway, now, since the issue broke, people have been talking. So this is Matthew Adabuga. Have a look.
So the point is I feel guilty that innocent people, not only soldiers, the 200